In linguistics, word order typology is the study of the order of the syntactic constituents of a language, and how different languages can employ different orders. Correlations between orders found in different syntactic subdomains are also of interest. The primary word orders that are of interest are the constituent order of a clause, the relative order of subject, object, and verb, the order of modifiers in a noun phrase, and the order of adverbials. Some languages use relatively restrictive word order, often relying on the order of constituents to convey important grammatical information. Others, often those that convey grammatical information through inflection, allow more flexibility, which can be used to encode pragmatic information such as topicalization or focus. Most languages, however, have a preferred word order. Most nominative accusative languages, which have a major word class of nouns and clauses that include subject and object, define constituent word order in terms of the finite verb and its arguments, the subject and object. There are 6 theoretically possible basic word orders for the transitive sentence: subject, verb, object, subject, object, verb, verb, subject, object, verb, object, subject, object, subject, verb, and object, verb, subject. The overwhelming majority of the world's languages are either SVO or SOV, with a much smaller but still significant portion using VSO word order. The remaining 3 arrangements are exceptionally rare, with VOS being slightly more common than OSV, and OVS being significantly more rare than the 2 preceding orders. Finding the basic constituent of word order and mode of transmission. A paper by Murray Gell-Mann and Merritt Rowland, building on work in comparative linguistics, asserts that the distribution of word order types in the world's languages was originally SOV. The paper compares a survey of 2,135 languages with a presumed phylogenetic tree of languages, concluding that changes in word order tend to follow particular pathways, and the transmission of word order to a great extent vertical as opposed to horizontal. According to this analysis, the most recent ancestor of currently known languages was spoken recently enough to trace the whole evolutionary path of word order in most cases. A strong similarity exists between the linguistic tree and the genetic tree. It is not always easy to find the basic word order of S, O and V. First, not all languages make use of the categories of subject and object. In others, the subject and object may not form a clause with the verb. If subject and object can be identified within a clause, the problem can arise that different orders prevail in different contexts. For instance, French has SVO for nouns, but SOV when the object is a pronoun, and VSO for questions. German has verb medial order in main clauses, but verb final order in subordinate clauses. In other languages, the word order of transitive and intransitive clauses may not correspond. In still others, the rules for ordering S, O, and V may exist, but be secondary to more fundamental ordering rules, e.g., for considerations such as topic comment. To have a valid base for comparison, the basic word order is defined as declarative, main clause. S and O must both be nominal arguments. Pragmatically neutral, i.e., no element has special emphasis. While the first 2 of these requirements are relatively easy to respect, the latter 2 are more difficult. In spoken language, there are hardly ever 2 full nouns in a clause. The norm is for the clause to have at most 1 noun, the other arguments being pronouns. In written language, this is somewhat different, but that is of no help when investigating oral languages. Finally, the notion of pragmatically neutral is difficult to test. While the English sentence, "the king they killed," has a heavy emphasis on king, in other languages, that order might not carry a significantly higher emphasis than another order. If all the requirements above are met, it still sometimes turns out that languages do not seem to prefer any particular word order. The last resort is text counts, but even then, some languages must be analyzed as having 2 word orders. Constituent word orders. Frequency distribution of word order in languages surveyed by Russell S. Tomalan in 1980s. These are all possible word orders for the subject, verb, and object in the order of most common to rarest. SOV is the order used by the largest number of distinct languages. Languages using it include the prototypical Urdu, Korean, Japanese, Mongolian, Basque, the Indo-Aryan languages and the Dravidian languages. Some, like Persian, Latin and Quechua, have SOV normal word order but conform less to the general tendencies of other such languages. A sentence glossing as, "She bred 8" would be grammatically correct in these languages. SVO languages include English, the Romance languages, Bulgarian, Macedonian, Serbo-Croatian, Chinese and Swahili, among others. She ate bread. VSO languages include Classical Arabic, the Insular Celtic languages, and Hawaiian. She bred is grammatically correct in these languages. VOS languages include Fijian and Malagasy. Ate bread she. OVS languages include Hixkariana. Bread ate she. OSV languages include Savanta and Warao. Bread she ate. Sometimes patterns are more complex. German, Dutch and Frisian have SOV in subordinates, but V2 word order in main clauses, SVO word order being the most common. Using the guidelines above, the unmarked word order is then SVO. Others, such as Latin, Greek, Persian, Romanian, Turkish and Finnish, have no strict word order. Rather, the sentence structure is highly flexible and reflects the pragmatics of the utterance. Nonetheless, there is often a preferred order. In Latin and Turkish, SOV is the most frequent outside of poetry, and in Finnish SVO is both the most frequent and obligatory when case marking fails to disambiguate argument roles. Just as languages may have different word orders in different contexts, so may they have both fixed and free word orders. For example, Russian has a relatively fixed SVO word order in transitive clauses, but a much freer SV/VS order in intransitive clauses. Cases like this can be addressed by encoding transitive and intransitive clauses separately, with the symbol S being restricted to the argument of an intransitive clause, and A for the actor, agent of a transitive clause. Thus, Russian is fixed AVO but flexible SV, versus. In such an approach, the description of word order extends more easily to languages that do not meet the criteria in the preceding section. For example, Mayan languages have been described with the rather uncommon VOS word order. However, they are ergative-absolutive languages, and the more specific word order is intransitive VS, transitive VOA, where S and O arguments both trigger the same type of agreement on the verb. Indeed, many languages that some thought had a VOS word order turn out to be ergative like Mayan. Functions of constituent word order. A fixed or prototypical word order is one out of many ways to ease the processing of sentence semantics and reducing ambiguity. One method of making the speech stream less open to ambiguity is a fixed order of arguments and other sentence constituents. This works because speech is inherently linear. Another method is to label the constituents in some way, for example with case marking, agreement, or another marker. Fixed word order reduces expressiveness but added marking increases information load in the speech stream, and for these reasons strict word order seldom occurs together with strict morphological marking, one counterexample being Persian. Observing discourse patterns, it is found that previously given information tends to precede new information. Furthermore, acting participants are more likely to be talked about than things simply undergoing actions. If acting participants are often topical, and topic tends to be expressed early in the sentence, this entails that acting participants have a tendency to be expressed early in the sentence. This tendency can then grammaticalize to a privileged position in the sentence, the subject. The mentioned functions of word order can be seen to affect the frequencies of the various word order patterns. The vast majority of languages have an order in which S precedes O and V. Whether V precedes O or O precedes V, however, has been shown to be a very telling difference with wide consequences on phrasal word orders. Knowledge of word order, on the other hand, can be applied to identify the thematic relations of the NPs in a clause of an unfamiliar language. If we can identify the verb in a clause, and we know that the language is strict accusative SVO, then we know that Grob Smock BLUG probably means that Grob is the smocker and BLUG the entity smocked. However, since very strict word order is rare in practice, such applications of word order studies are rarely effective. Phrase word orders and branching. The order of constituents in a phrase can vary as much as the order of constituents in a clause. Normally, the noun phrase and the adpositional phrase are investigated. Within the noun phrase, one investigates whether the following modifiers occur before or after the head noun: adjective, determiner, numeral, possessor, relative clause. Within the adpositional clause, one investigates whether the languages makes use of prepositions, postpositions, or both. There are several common correlations between sentence-level word order and phrase-level constituent order. For example, SOV languages generally put modifiers before heads and use postpositions. VSO languages tend to place modifiers after their heads, and use prepositions. For SVO languages, either order is common. For example, French uses prepositions, and places adjectives after. However, a small class of adjectives generally go before their heads. On the other hand, in English adjectives almost always go before nouns, and adverbs can go either way, but initially is more common. Pragmatic word order. Some languages have no fixed word order. These languages often use a significant amount of morphological marking to disambiguate the roles of the arguments. However, some languages use a fixed word order, even if they provide a degree of marking that would support free word order. Also, some languages with free word order, such as some varieties of Datuga, combine free word order with a lack of morphological distinction between arguments. Typologically, there is a trend that highly animate actors are more likely topical than low animate undergoers. This trend would come through even in free word order languages, giving a statistical bias for SO order. Most languages with a high degree of morphological marking have rather flexible word orders such as Turkish, Latin, Portuguese, Romanian, Hungarian, Lithuanian, Serbo-Croatian, Russian, and Finnish. In some of those, a canonical order can still be identified, but in others this is not possible. When the word order is free, different choices of word order can be used to help identify the theme and the rime. Hungarian. In Hungarian, the enclitic T marks the direct object. 4. Kate ate a piece of cake. The possibilities are: Kati megavat e.g. Silit taught it. Kate ate a piece of cake. E.g. Silit taught it. Kati evet meg, a piece of cake Kate ate. Kati e.g. Silit taught it evet meg, Kate a piece of cake ate. E.g. Silit taught it evet meg Kati, a piece of cake ate. Meg evet e.g. Silit taught it Kati, ate a piece of cake ate. Meg evet Kati e.g. Silit taught it, ate Kate a piece of cake. Portuguese. In Portuguese, the clitic pronouns allow many different orders. Eu vou entregar para você amanhã. I will deliver to you tomorrow. Entregarei para você amanhã. Deliver. I will to you tomorrow. Eu te entregarei amanhã. I to you will deliver tomorrow. Entregar-te amanhã. Deliver to you I will tomorrow. A ti eu entregarei amanhã. To you I will deliver tomorrow. A ti entregarei amanhã. To you deliver I will tomorrow. Amanhã entregarei para você. Tomorrow I will deliver to you. Acaso entregaria eu a você amanhã. Could deliver I to you tomorrow? Latin. In Latin, the endings of nouns, verbs, adjectives, and pronouns allow for extremely flexible order in most situations. Latin lacks articles. Romulus condiderat urbem. Romulus had founded the city. Romulus urbem condiderat. Romulus the city had founded. Considerat Romulus Herbum. He had founded Romulus city. Considerat Urbum Romulus. He had founded city Romulus. Urbum Romulus considerat. The city Romulus he had founded. Urbum considerat Romulus. The city he had founded Romulus. Romulus is in the nominative case, so it is the subject of the sentence. Urbum is the accusative case form of the third declension noun, urbs, so it is the object of the sentence. Considerat is the third-person active indicative pluperfect form of the verb condo, condere. It tells the relationship between Romulus and Urbum. In theory, Latin prose generally follows the word order: subject, indirect object, direct object, adverb, verb. But this is more of a guideline than a rule. Adjectives normally go after a noun they modify, but this is not absolutely required. In practice, there is great flexibility in word order, though the one rule usually upheld is that the verb goes last in the sentence. Nonetheless, it is technically not incorrect grammar to use a completely different word order. Putting a word earlier in the sentence increases the emphasis on it, but this subtlety would only be particularly obvious to a native Latin speaker. However, even in classical Latin poetry, lyricists follow word order very loosely to achieve a desired rhyming scheme. Romulus Urbum considerat is preferable, but there is nothing explicitly incorrect with considerat Urbum Romulus. Bengali in Bengali, word order is very flexible. As example, Amy yani na. I don't know. Yani na Amy. No don't I. Other issues. In many languages, changes in word order occur due to topicalization or in questions. However, most languages are generally assumed to have a basic word order, called the unmarked word order. Other marked word orders can then be used to emphasize a sentence element, to indicate modality, or for other purposes. For example, English is SVO, as in, I don't know that, but OSV is also possible. That I don't know. This process is called topic fronting and is common. In English, OSV is a marked word order because it emphasizes the object, and is often accompanied by a change in intonation. An example of OSV being used for emphasis: A. I can't see Alice. B. What about Bill? Bill I can see. Non-standard word orders are also found in poetry in English, particularly archaic or romantic terms, as the wedding phrase, with this ring, I thee wed, or the I love, as well as in many other languages. Translation differences in word order complicate translation and language education. In addition to changing the individual words, the order must also be changed. This can be simplified by first translating the individual words, then reordering the sentence, as in interlinear gloss, or by reordering the words prior to translation.